Hi there, my name is Aubrey Fillion, and today I'm going to show you how to create a cadastral plan. We will be using a Irvin file that you previously created along with a project linked to that specific Irvin file. If you have not yet created an Irvin file, please visit our YouTube channel and you'll find a video there to help you prepare your CAD and your project to create the Irvin file, and then there's also a second video which addresses the whole procedure of creating an Irvin file. So to start this tutorial today, we will require you to have a project and an Irvin file ready as requirement for this training. To start off with, we'll go to the Cadastral Plan function under the Cadastral menu, and if you click on the button there, it will open up your cadastral function. Now for first time users, you might see this following message come up. This is just to tell you that you haven't loaded any previous Irvin file template and that the current template will be a default template as programmed into the SurveyMaker software. If we click OK, it opens up the function and you'll see on the right hand side we've got a blank screen, and this is once again because we haven't loaded up any template in the program at this stage. My program is currently a clean install, so this would represent the same as a first time user in SurveyMaker. Now we're quickly going to set up the program so that we can start creating our cadastral plans. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to load what we call a keyword file. Now the keyword file helps the program to calculate the variable values like your areas, your naming on the plan, things like the dates and times that also needs to be displayed. Later on when we get to creating the actual plan, the keywords will make a bit more sense. But there's two checks you need to do. The first one, you go to the data block screen and you'll see that currently this keyword drop down is grayed out. You can't access it, and that's because we don't have a proper keyword file loaded. So to load the keyword file, you have to have a keyword file and you have to have a set of templates ready. Now you can check that by going to your user folder. That'll be C drive, users, Aubrey Fillion is my user folder, and then Systems, SM, and then in the SM folder you've got this templates folder. Now inside templates you should see something like this. If you don't see all of these templates or a keyword file, you can ask any one of our support agents to email you this information. We will send you a zip file which we call master templates, and inside that zip file you'll see that we've listed all of these base templates with the necessary keyword file. So when you get the zip file, you'll extract the content into the Systems SM folder under the templates folder so that it looks exactly as mine is set up now. That in our template folder we've got all of the template files, which is called a TPL file, and then we've got this default data block keywords file which consists of all of the keywords that will be necessary to process these template files that we send to you. So if you don't have them, quickly email or call one of our support agents, have them send you the file, and then go on with the tutorial. Now after you've made sure that you've got the relevant templates, we can go into SurveyMaker, we can go to options, and we can go to open keyword files. Now this will load up that keyword file we want to work on. If we say open, we just make sure that we're in the templates folder, and if we're in that templates folder you'll see that's under my user .mmsystems SM templates. We've got the keyword file in there. I say open, and now you'll see that the keyword file has got a little name in there. It's not an empty box, but still I cannot access this list. So to access this list, let's load up just any template to activate that input box. So if we go to templates, we go open template, just load up the first one, which is this consolidation diagram. You'll see that on the right hand side you will now see the template for our diagram, and the input boxes will now be active. So if I now click on this input box, you'll see a list of all the keywords that we can use. And also at the bottom of the screen there's a label which will show you the location of our current keyword, which you will see is the correct one which we just opened. So this 2 steps you only need to do the first time that you run the program. I can now close this function and I can go back to the cadastral plan function, and you'll see that the last template we opened will now be our default template to start off with. And if we go back to that data blocks tab, you'll see that the keyword file has also been automatically loaded. So for first time users, please make sure that you've got a loaded keyword file and that you've also got a template open, and then you can start using the program and you'll get exactly the results that you expect from the program. So just to be thorough, let's start from the very beginning. We've got our project, we do have an Irvin file we created, so the first step would be to go to Cadastral Plans, and now we get the function properly set up. Step 1, templates, open template, and now we want to load up the relevant template that we're going to be using. In this case it will be General Plan Township Base A0 Sheet 1 Block Corners. If I open up this template, you'll see immediately on the right hand side the preview changes to an empty general plan type of template. And now we can start loading our Irvin file and our figure data onto this template to get to the final product, which will be our general plan. Now after you've loaded your template, we're ready to load in the data. So we'll go to Open Irvin File. We'll select the Irvin file which we've already created, and this will give us a preview of this current Irvin file. At the top of the screen you'll see in red the path and the name of the Irvin file, and this will always remind you of which Irvin file we are working with. Now at this point you have to remember that when we're working with a general plan, you want the active figure, so the one that you're viewing on this page, to be your main figure. This will inform SurveyMaker that we're busy with a general plan, and this will help it set itself up to give you the correct outputs for when we're doing the general plan. If we were doing a diagram, we can go and use these arrows to run through the different figures, settle on the specific figure we want to do the diagram of, and now SurveyMaker will recognize this as a single figure, and combined with our template settings it will produce the correct output values for a diagram. So it's very important to remember that for general plans your main figure must be the active figure. For diagrams, the specific figure you want to do the diagram of needs to be the active figure. If we're getting to working plans, in a working plan it's the same thing. If you're using an Irvin file for your working plan, go with your first figure. It doesn't really have to be a main figure or a IRF figure, and you can even do a working plan without using an Irvin file, which I will show to you at the end of this video. So with our main figure as the active figure in this project, we will now start generating our general plan. Now you'll notice that there's a next button at the bottom here. If I click on that next button, it will take me to the next page which needs to be addressed. You'll see at the top of the screen as well we've got our tabs in a sequential order. So we've got Irvin data, content settings, block corners, figure controls, and generic data blocks. All the next button down here does, it takes me to the next tab. So if you're on the block corners and you quickly want to make a change to your page again, you can go to content settings, or if you quickly want to view your Irvin data again, you can just click on the tab. So you can either use the tabs to navigate, or you can use the next button just to run through your specific pages that you need to check. So if we click on the next, we're now on the content settings page. Now the content settings page will give you all the settings that's related to the actual page layout and to the coordinate block, the block corners, and the earth area definitions. That's covered on this specific page. Now you'll see the top section gives us the page layout. You can change the page layout here just by selecting different options. You'll see the page going from a portrait to a landscape type of view just by clicking on these boxes. And if you have a look at the right hand side margin, if I change that to 100 millimeters and I press the enter key, you'll see the margin shifting, and I can shift it back 180 and I press the enter key, it redraws the margin on 180 millimeters. So this you can set up at any stage, and if you want to add more than one sheet to this general plan, this option here where it says number of pages, you can add extra sheets to your page by clicking on it, and you'll see we've now got page 3, page 2 and page 1 over here. And then same thing, if you want to remove a page, just by clicking on the page and clicking the down button here, it will remove that specific page from your list. So remember that all the page settings, orientation, margins and number of sheets will be addressed on your content settings page. Then at the bottom we've got the settings to set up your block corners, your coordinate block and your earth areas. Now these are settings to set the top position, the border lines, the number of data that will be included in your block, the actual headings and column widths, and then you can also toggle which sections you want on and off: figure definitions, servitude, your trig lists, reference marks, area blocks, block corners, and then a few specific format settings where you can set the line spacing, language preference and angle delimiters. All these settings is saved within your template file. So once you've set it up to a specific way and you've saved a template file, next time you load up that template file again, these settings will be exactly the same, and you'll be able to just load a template file and go on and not really tamper with these settings anymore. So we recommend taking our base templates, setting up these settings so that it reflects on the right hand side exactly to what you're looking for, going under templates, saying save template, and as soon as you save this template, these values are written into that template, and that will become now the default settings for the next time you're opening that template. Now to create the actual data on the page, you use the apply all button. When I press apply all, you'll see it created the information on the screen. Now if I want to go and view this, you can use your middle mouse button. If I click there, it centers it on the screen, and I can roll my mouse button in to go closer, and I can roll my mouse button out to zoom out of the screen. So you'll see we've got our main figure, we've got our coordinate information, we've got our servitude data, trig beacons, reference marks, we've got our block corner information on here, and then right on the other side we've got all our earth areas also listed. Now if you want to move this block, you can click on it and you can move it around, and if you go to the specific section that handles the properties for this block, in this case the earth area section, if you have a look at this top left, when I click on this block and I move it, you'll see that the program automatically updates those values. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to position it in the position where I want it to go, and then I'll just make sure that it snaps 100% to those lines by typing in the correct values, saying apply all, and the program redraws it on that edge. So at any stage you can go and you can click on any one of these blocks and it will give you the correct block under the mouse, and you will be able to click and drag it and move it to a new location. So even though this is your printout screen on the right hand side, at any time you can click and move any one of the blocks around. Now on this page where the content settings are, you'll have your coordinate block info, you'll have your block corner info, earth data, you'll see all of them. You can set the column widths and labels, and another very important setting will be the font settings. This will be where you set the specific fonts for each one of these types. The current default value for all our templates are Arial regular, and then the height differs from the different types of data that's being displayed. So if you use our templates as a base and you don't want to use Arial, you'll have to come in and you'll set up the different fonts and different font names that you want to use by clicking on this A, and then it'll bring up the font settings, and you can then choose a different font which will reflect on the plan as you create the plan. So this caters for all of the font settings. So at any point, if there's a problem with your fonts, come to the content settings page, and under content settings you'll get font settings, where you will be able to set up all of your font settings. Now the best way to get to learn this page is by switching things on and off, clicking apply all, and having a look at what happens on the right hand side, and you'll quickly get a feel for what you need to switch on and off to get to what you're used to producing with your old software. Okay, so that covers the page settings and the coordinate blocks and the data blocks and the earth blocks. So what we also have on this page is we've got what we call a data block. Now any information other than the coordinate blocks is what we call data blocks. That will be title blocks, headings like we've got up here, signatures, any extra information, notes, servitude notes and so on that you place on the plan. If you want to edit a specific data block, you merely click on it and you'll see on the left hand side that specific data block has now been activated. If I click on the data block at the top here, you'll see that the total sheets data block have been activated. Now to edit the data block, you will not edit it on the right hand side on your preview side, but you will use the settings page to do all of your editing when it comes to data blocks. This reduces the amount of CAD work, and it's much easier editing it in this side on the settings screen than using the normal type of CAD editing functions. So if we edit this heading now, I can come in and I can tell it there's a total of 53 Irvin. They start their numbering from 1 and they go to number 53. The farm name, which is Irene, has automatically been written in. We've got our SG number, which has automatically been written in, the deeds transfer number, which we don't have at this stage, and then our province, which has also been automatically been written in. Now these values, you'll see the province, the farm name, they are what we call keywords. So we've got the sentence here, Gauteng province, but in the data block itself we've got keyword province and then province. Now what happens as soon as ServerMaker sees this keyword, there's a specific command linked to that keyword. It can be to get a date, it can be to get a province name, a farm name, a specific compilation number, anything like that. The program will go into our data, into our project Irvin file, and it will retrieve that information and it will substitute the keyword with the actual information from the project. Now this gives us the ability to create a generic template, and by loading in a different project or a different Irvin file, the actual result will be populated with the data that's relevant to that project. So that's the function of the keywords, is to be a middleman between a generic template and the ever-changing project data to give us a result where we don't have to go and physically edit in these live values, but the program will then be able to generate them automatically for us. Especially when you get to your diagrams, you'll see that we use a lot of keywords on the diagrams, and playing around with our default templates will give you a good idea of how the keywords function. If you want to take off a keyword, for example this consists of one sheet, if you click on it, on the left hand side where we've got all the properties, we can change its visibility. You can set the boundary frame lines, you can set the width and height of the actual block, the positioning, line spacing, you can do the fonts and you can make it bold and italic, and you'll see as we're changing it, the changes are real time. So this is not like working in CAD where you have to update and keep track of everything. By changing your data block in the settings side, the program will automatically keep track of what's happening on the CAD side. So if we click on it, we can make it invisible and take it off of the plan. And same thing with this notes data block, I can take that off of the plan, and then when I get to the servitude notes as well, we can take it off of the plan. And now we've got only the needed data. Take off the sheet 1 of 1 as well. Now if we move right to the bottom here, you'll see that we've got now surveyed in June 12 by me, and once again we've got a keyword which gives us that date. My name is also a keyword, so you'll see my name written in there, and the PLS number I'm using is also a keyword, which is all brought in from our project or the program settings or the Irvin file. Now you can also add a signature into this general plan by clicking on this data block. We've made a default data block called My Signature, and to add your signature you merely remove the text inside the data block and you add your signature from your list of images. Now to load an image into SurveyMaker, you will use the user image function, which you can find under the settings configuration menu, and we also do have a video that explains how to load specific images into the program, like signatures or company logos, anything like that. So I'm going to choose my signature and I'm going to use this red arrow to insert it into the data block, and you'll see as soon as I put it in there, you've now got a signature on the plan. The signature of mine is password protected, so as soon as I print this image or this plan, it will ask me for a password. If I can supply the correct password, it will be a signed PDF that comes out, and if I can't supply the correct password, the signature will be left out from the cadastral plan and you'll have to sign it by hand if you want to and rescan it. Okay, so we've got a signature on there, we've got our coordinate blocks, we've filled in the heading. So the next step would be to place our figure. So using the next button again, we can now go and we can place the figure. So what we want to do is, this is a preview screen of the actual figure that's going to be placed at the end of the day. Now once again, most of these settings come from your template, so there's only a few selections that you have to make when you create a new figure. The first thing that we need to do is build a preview here exactly of what we're looking for, and then the preview on here will be created on your main paper plane when we then create this figure. So for this specific scenario, I would like to bring in my surrounding data which we had on the main screen. Now to do that, you'll activate the CAD data import option and we'll switch it to all CAD data. Now you'll see that it's brought in some earth numbers, so with that earth numbers in there, the program will duplicate, because from the Irvin file, SurveyMaker will place its own earth numbers, so you don't have to bring in CAD earth numbers when you're creating your general plan. So to switch off the specific layers that we don't require, you can use the layers box. We can unselect all of the layers, and then I only need my surrounding data layer. If I now press OK, you'll see in the preview we've got all of the Irvin data, and then we've got our surrounding text around it. In this specific case, we don't need to bring in any extra DTM points. It's important to remember that you only bring in all DTM most of the time on your working plans. For general plans and diagrams, you should be able to define all of the data you need within your Irvin file or within CAD in your main project. Now, after we've created the preview screen and we've got on this preview screen what we need to have as a final figure, we go to step 1 at the top, which is to indicate the position of our general plan figure. If I click on the button, it stays indented, and now I go to the top and I indicate the estimated position of my figure. So I click in the top left, I move the mouse, and then when I come to the bottom right, I click again. You don't click and drag, you click, you move the mouse, and you click again. And if you want to redefine the area, you just simply click, move the mouse, and click again. And once you feel happy with the estimated area where you want to put it, the program will down here in the scale box show you the exact scale to fit your figure into that box. Now we can go and we can make it 1 in 500, and then I click on create, and you'll see it creates a figure for me. If you want to recreate, you maybe forgot some of the CAD data, or you want to edit some of the parameters, you can click on delete, and that will remove the figure so that you can then change the parameters again. For example, My all other beacons are 12mm iron pegs, and I want to add a rotation of 23 degrees. And now if I say create, you'll see that my figure comes out rotated. Now at any stage, like with your block corners, you can click on the figure and you can move it around. If you want to make changes to the scale or to the rotation, you can merely click in the box, type in the new value and press enter. Same thing with the scale, 750, I press enter and the plan is automatically rescaled. The text will stay the same, height and width, and the information will stay the same. The program basically just resizes your diagram to the correct scale. Okay, so once again, if I want to recreate this, if I made a mistake or if I want to remove it, you've got the option here to delete it. So you can cut a figure, copy it, paste it, or delete it. If I delete it, it opens up the settings again, and now I can go and I can say create, and it creates my figure. And now I can go and I can nicely position it to exactly where I want. If I zoom in here on the north arrow, I can take my scale text and I can move it out, and I can take the north arrow and I can move it out. Now on the north arrow, if you want to set your own north arrow, we've got an option here, north arrow and legend options, and under the north arrow and legend options you can use your patterns to select different types of north arrows. Once again, if you click on them, it will move it into the correct position. Now these settings, as you change them, if you go to templates and you save template, these settings will now be saved as the default value for next time when you start using the template. If you want to add a grid to the specific figure, you can go to grid options, select your interval, and then say update grid, and you'll see the program automatically put a grid around your figure. If you want to remove the grid, you merely remove the tick box, update grid, and it will remove your grid again. Now for things like the point patterns, your main figure pattern, block corner pattern, we've got an option figure point patterns. You've got a list of all the patterns that can be applied, and all you have to do, you click in the column and you've got a list of patterns. Now have a look at the pattern as I'm going through all of the options we have. If I choose a different pattern, let's choose a rejected beacon, you'll see immediately all my main figures get updated to that specific pattern. So this is once again a real-time change that happens. As you change the pattern, the program automatically puts the correct pattern on all your main figures and the specific sections that you're choosing there. Okay, so this produces the initial general plan, and it should cover most of the CAD work. We also have what we call a CAD mode, if you look at the top of the screen here. And when we go into CAD mode, you will see that you've got a CAD environment now, like on your main screen, where you can go and you can edit and you can move text. Now the editing done in here, we want to keep to the figure, and it'll only be to move around text or anything like that. If there's changes or problems on your figure dimensions, on the earth numbers, surrounding data, anything like that, it would be best to fix those in the Irvin file or in the project, and then update the figure or recreate the whole figure to reflect those changes. The program can really do most of the CAD work for you. It's just in cases like where we've got very small earth here with the font very big, where you'll have to do some moving of the dimensions to get it looking neat. But the rest of the information on there should be 100% correct at this point. We will have a video later on which will cover a whole editing process of moving text, creating insets, creating offshoots, and playing around in the specific CAD mode when it comes to general plans. For now, let's go back to the plan mode. In our plan mode, you can now move around your figure, you can position everything, you can make sure that your scale is correct, and once you're done and you've got your final general plan, you then under File, you've got the option to save a cadastral plan. Now a cadastral plan will be a container for the template, for the Irvin file, and for all the work we've done on the preview side here. So we recommend saving a cadastral plan so that when you need to make amendments, it's very easy just to open a cadastral plan. When you open it, you've got this picture in front of you again, and you can start editing and working in the Survey Maker interface. If you only save this as an exported Model Maker CAD file or a DWG file, you will not have the functionality to edit it in this Survey Maker interface, and you'll have to go back to pure CAD editing, which can be time consuming, especially if you have a lot of changes to be made. So always go to File, Save Cadastral Plan. You give it a name. I'm just going to call it Clean CAD. A cadastral plan has got an extension of SMX, and when I save this, this file is now saved as a cadastral plan. So when I come in next time and I open this function, I merely have to open the cadastral plan, and I can continue exactly where I left off with all of the settings in place. You can also go then and you can export to any CAD format, and you can print this into a PDF or print it to a plotter. For the rest of the work, as I say, we'll have a video later on to cover more detail on the CAD mode section of the specific plan. What I'd like to demonstrate now is how to create a diagram from the same Irvin file. So I'm going to close this function. I'm going to reopen the cadastral plan. I'll open our same Irvin file. And now once again, first step would be to do your template file. So I'm going for a small scale diagram, A4. Okay, and immediately I've got the relevant information on here which I need. If I click next, we can now go and we can switch off and on certain things. For example, if we don't want the reference marks, I can create a reduced list, say apply all, and it will remove those reference marks. And once again, this is now removed because we've removed it and set the option in our Irvin file to be able to select between the coordinate block and between the figure, to actually place it on the figure. In this case, once again, I'm going to remove the servitude note. So you click on the block, you go and you change the visibility. The beacon description field, I click on it and I move it just a little bit up. And then if you want to make sure that all of the data blocks are showing live information, you can click under data blocks on the apply all, and it'll run through all of the settings and make sure that we have the correct values on here. So in this case, it'll already, because on the Irvin data page our active figure is this one, it'll give us the data A, B, C, D, A, E represents, and the area, it's a main figure, it's Irene, province, the date, the township names, everything is on there, and everything comes from our Irvin file and from our project again. To add our signature, we click on that data block, add signature, place my signature in there, and I just move it exactly to where I need, and I've got my signature on the plan as well. Ordinance blocks, I'm just going to remove these two ordinance blocks, and we're just going to have one sheet in this specific case. So you'll see the editing is very easy. You just click on the data blocks, you make them invisible, and you can zone in on exactly the look that you need. If you go to figure controls, I can now go and I can place my small scale, create it on there, and because we are doing a small scale, you'll see on the previous side it's drawing in our block corners because it's part of the definition for this main figure. But when the program creates, it realizes that we don't need those block corner lines, and it only draws in our small scale with the little piece of servitude at the bottom there. Now once again, if we want to rotate this, we can punch in a degrees, press enter, and it will be rotated, and also the scale we're working at we can punch in a scale, and as we change it, the figure automatically updates. And then once again for the north arrow as well, if I go to north arrow, I can set up any north arrow that I want to use, and if I save this template, this will now become the default setting for all the rest of my small scale diagrams. So if we then go, and I'll close it again, and let's say we want to do the working plan of this specific figure. I'll go to Cadastral Plan options, I'll go to Templates, Open Template, and now we're looking at our working plan. So let's say working plan new township, it's a A3 working plan. Now we're going to use all of the data from the main screen, which is basically our working plan, so we're not going to load a Irvin file. We'll go next. For your working plan, there isn't much information from the content settings side, usually only your page layout and your margin settings. Under data blocks, we've got a few data blocks, and you can manually set them. And then we've got our figure control. Now we'll see what happened here. We've got our trigs on here. Now if we want to remove those trigs from the page, what we can do is we can use a search radius to exclude them. So we'll make the search radius, let's say 500 meters, and to set the center of your search radius, you'll click in this origin box and you'll click on the figure. And when I click on the figure, you'll see the exact point where I clicked becomes filled in. And now I can change the option from my working plan template to say CAD in search radius. And now if I reduce the search radius, let's make it DTM in search radius as well. And now as I reduce that search radius, you'll see the amount of data on the plan changes. And this is also a very handy way of zoning in on a specific figure if you're doing diagrams. So in the case where I'm doing a diagram of Earth 37, if I make my origin point the center of Earth 37, you'll see that it automatically brings in surrounding data for your diagram, which then also reduces the amount of CAD work you have to do on the final diagram. Now let's take back and we say we want all of the CAD data. The DTM we only want in the search radius, but we can increase that search radius. Let's just find the correct search radius there, and I'll move this a little bit up, and there you'll see that the search radius now excludes those trig points. And now all I have to do is the same thing as we did with all of the others. We've got set position, we set the position, we fill in our scale, and we say create, and you'll see that now our working plan has been generated with all of the plan names on there. Now you don't have to use a Irvin file to create your working plan, but if you do create it from the Irvin file, I can show you the difference. If we load up that Irvin file figure, you'll see that once again we don't need to bring in all of the extra surrounding data. We can only work with surrounding and leave out all of the earth numbers. And then for the DTM data, we'll keep it to the same in the search radius, where it will bring in this case, it will only bring in the 2 or 3 reference marks, as they are not defined within our specific Irvin file. If I now create it, you'll see that the line settings are red, because they come from our Irvin file, and the surrounding data is still on here, but now the figure text is positioned much better because the program now can distinguish between different earths, and also the calculations like earth numbers, distances and directions, all of those values can now be added as you want to on this working plan. So working with the Irvin file does have its advantages, but if you quickly want to do a calculation plan or a draft of your working plan, you can do it by not using an Irvin file. but at the end of the day we do recommend trying to use your urban file, as it does increase the amount of work that the program can do for you. Okay, so that should cover all of the functions that you will be using in the program to create your cadastral plans with. It's a very simple process. You'll see that if you're using general plan, working plan or diagram, we use the same function and the same steps. You can use the same urban file. So have a look at the video again, pause it, practice what we're saying, see if you get the same result. If there's any specific questions or queries, please let us know. Send us an email at info@modelmaker.co.za or give us a call at any one of our support agents, and we'll try to assist you over TeamViewer or telephonically to help you get up and running. But if you follow the simple steps in this video, you should be able to get to a point where you can create a diagram, general plan or working plan. And then have a look out for the following video, which will help you then to edit those plans in your CAD mode under the cadastral plan function.